The Season 5 update for Marvel Rivals placed Gambit inside the Strategist category to mix up things inside that class. Now, this seemed to have caused some kind of commotion in the community because people believe that a lot of the heroes in this game have kind of been placed in the wrong category or just misplaced in general in terms of whether they should fit into the Vanguard, Duelist, or Strategist categories. And this video is going to go over where I believe these heroes, every single one of them, should be placed within the categories in this game. Now, this is not only going to be based off of the comic books and what abilities these heroes have, but also where I feel like they should actually sit within the game, because I feel like some of them have been designed very well, even though they're maybe out with the class that you potentially think they should actually be in. So let's kick things off with the first Avenger, and we're going to fly through this as quickly as we possibly can as well. I think Captain America is perfectly placed in the Vanguard category. I don't think he should be moved. I like the fact that he's a dive tank. I like the fact that he's got his shield, he's got all those abilities, and he's very supportive in terms of his role. So overall, all that makes sense to be in the Vanguard category. Plus, he's got a little bit extra HP, and he can do this all day. Then we've got the Hulk, and again, the Hulk perfectly fits in the Vanguard category, being a dive tank, being able to jump, highly mobile, all of that fits in with the way he is in the comic books and movies. So again, I think Hulk perfectly fits inside the Vanguard category. Next up, we have Blade, and this is the one of the ones where I think were misplaced in this game, and it's almost evident from the fact that he's very tanky to begin with, and I think he should have been a Vanguard. Now, first of all, his lifesteal ability in the first place should have been given to a different hero, which we'll get on into later on in this video. But when it comes to Blade, he should have just been an overall tank with the shotgun dealing a bit more damage at long range, and that would have been more of a ranged attack for a Vanguard, and I think that would have fit perfectly into this game. And he should have just been given extra HP so that he can survive a little bit longer, and the rest of his kit is perfectly fine as well, to be honest with you, especially having the anti-heal effects. All of that would have been really cool to be onto a Vanguard character instead of being into a Duelist, and that's where I think Blade should have been placed, in my opinion. Then we've got Black Widow. Black Widow is perfectly placed in the Duelist category as a sniper rifle style of character, which is absolutely fine. We've seen many of these in other games, so no issues there. Then we've got Black Panther, and when it comes to Black Panther, again, I do believe he should have been a Duelist. No issues there. Dive hero, very, very high skill player as well. Highly mobile, makes perfect sense to be in the Duelist category. Again, no problems with this hero whatsoever. Next up, we've got one of the heroes where it could have went either way. So this is Angela. Now, I've placed Angela back in the Vanguard category, and it's for a couple of different reasons, but she could have easily have been a Duelist, and I think the initial design for Angela was a Duelist, to be honest with you, because of the way she plays. And then they added the kidnap ability and the shields to make her more of a Vanguard, and then just gave her extra HP in total. And I think this is kind of like the Blade idea, where she could have been a Vanguard, she could have been a Duelist, it really didn't matter. She doesn't really have anything special about her kit to say this is definitely a Vanguard hero, but overall she does act like a Duelist Vanguard hybrid, and she doesn't really deal as much damage, but she does have the kidnap ability, and I think that inside of a Vanguard category, since we already have that with another hero inside the Duelist category, is okay to kind of split that up. Then we've got Adam Warlock, and Adam Warlock absolutely fits the Strategist category. Being able to revive himself and cocoon and all that kind of stuff makes sense. Obviously, he's a kind of DPS version of the hero. The only issue with this hero really is that he can't fly, and hopefully they add some kind of movement tech for this hero in the future, because he definitely needs it. Then we've got Daredevil, and Daredevil is perfectly placed once again as a DPS dive hero, and again, similar to BP, I think he's perfectly placed in this game. There would be no other role for him to fit in, to be honest, and again, he's fit perfectly. Then we have Doctor Strange, and again, I think he's fit perfectly into the Vanguard category, having multiple pieces of unique tech that he can do, whether it comes to the portal, the shields, all sorts of things, levitating, and even the Eye of Agamotto. All of it makes sense to be one of the best Vanguards in the game. And then we've got Emma Frost. Again, Emma Frost deserves to be in the Vanguard category. She feels a bit beefier. She's got kind of the diamond form, which makes you feel like she should be in the Vanguard category, and I think they've designed this hero really well too. Then we've got Gambit, and I actually debated on putting Gambit inside the Duelist category because I feel like that's where he actually should have been placed. But because they designed him so well in terms of being a strategist, I'm actually happy to leave him in the strategist category for now. But in terms of the comic books and the way this hero actually works inside of any shows or movies, it almost feels like he should have just been a DPS hero, but they really designed his character kit really well, and I'm happy to say that I like him to stay in the strategist category. Then we've got Groot, and obviously Groot, it makes perfect sense to be a Vanguard. All of his kit points in that direction, and just the fact that he's a big beefy character, again, Groot should stay in the Vanguards. Then we've got Hawkeye, and once again, Hawkeye should just remain in the Duelist category. Pretty straightforward, another sniping style of character. Similar to Black Widow, he doesn't really have too much else to go for him, so he should stay in the Duelist category. Then we've got Namor, and once again, Namor could have maybe been a strategist if you wanted to use some kind of like water abilities to make him heal up or something like that. But again, I think he's perfectly placed inside the Duelist category. Having lock-on turrets and things like that makes him a bit unique. So overall, again, Duelist category there. Then we've got Moon Knight, and again, Moon Knight is perfectly placed for Duelist. He is more of a kind of brawler style of hero, especially in the comic books, and he's essentially being able to fly and deal damage and things like that. So Moon Knight, again, perfectly placed, and I think his kit is really cool as well with the unks. And next, we've got another hero where it could have been a Vanguard, it could have been a Duelist, and that is Mr. Fantastic. Now, of course, they designed him to be that hybrid role, and I've left him in the Duelist category because I personally don't mind these hybrid roles because it allows you to kind of play a bit more dynamically within each role as well, which I think is pretty cool. But also, when they released Mr. Fantastic, they released the full Fantastic Four at the exact same time, and they already had a Vanguard with the Thing, so it kind of made sense that they didn't want to make two Vanguards, and they're pretty similar in terms of kit where they both can give their teammates kind of extra HP and things like that, so they kind of moved one of the heroes out with of where you think they should have been placed. So I'm kind of okay with that, with Mr. Fantastic being a Duelist hero, no problems there. Then we've got Mantis, and Mantis pretty straightforward with this one. Should have been in the Strategist, and that's what she is, of course. Then we've got Magneto, and again, another really well designed hero overall in this game, and again, he should be a Vanguard, of course, no issues there. Then we have Magic, and again, no issues with Magic here. Putting her in the Duelist category, that's where she belongs. Definitely a very well designed hero again. Next up, we've got Luna Snow, and when it comes to Luna, I didn't know anything about this hero until I played Marvel Rivals, I'll be completely honest with you. So overall, I think they placed her in the strategist category. She is well designed as a hero overall, so no issues there placing her back in the strategist. Then we've got Hela, and Hela makes perfect sense to be that kind of long-range DPS hero, designed pretty well, and also just off the fact of Hela being kind of like an evil style of character, Duelist makes the most amount of sense for this role. Then we've got Human Torch, and again, no issues with his placement as well. He definitely should have been a Duelist. No problems with this one, the way he's designed. His design was actually quite fun and a bit different to the other flyers. Then we've got Invisible Woman, and again, protective shields, protective barriers, all that good stuff, especially in the movies, and then even in the comic books and things like that as well. And then also just being squishy in general kind of makes sense for her to be a strategist. So again, perfectly placed. Next up, we've got another hero that was a bit of a debate, and that is between the Duelist and the Strategist category, and this one is actually Iron Fist. And we placed him in the Strategist category because I think Iron Fist would have made a great strategist in this game. We already have a lot of dive Duelists in the first place, and we probably could have had a dive strategist way back as soon as the game launched with Iron Fist. And obviously in the comic books, he can heal himself up, he can heal in general, so it kind of made sense for him to be a strategist. And in the game anyway, he's also got abilities to heal himself up as well, so it kind of just made sense to kind of take away a little bit of his damage maybe output, or maybe some of his damage abilities, and maybe give him a bit more in the way of healing abilities. Like his spin kick could have been a heal, similar to what Gambit can do with his spin dash. So it's not like they didn't add these abilities in later on in the game for a hero like Gambit, which made probably less sense. So Iron Fist probably could have been that dive strategist hero way back in the day, and obviously he's got the block as well, which would have been really cool. So I think, again, Iron Fist should have been a strategist. Then we've got Iron Man, and again, Iron Man is perfectly placed in this game as a Duelist. I think Iron Man could have been a Vanguard realistically, maybe a flying Vanguard at that as well, but hopefully we get War Machine in this game at some point, so I'm happy to say that Iron Man should stay in Duelist, and I'm so excited to get War Machine. If we get War Machine in this game, by the way, this is a complete side note, then I'm one trick in that hero all the way, I don't care. Then we've got Jeff the Shark, and again, I didn't know anything about Jeff until I played this game, I'll be completely honest. So again, the well-designed hero, they reworked him almost completely at one point as well, and he's still a good strategist in this game, so we'll leave Jeff inside the strategist category. Next up, we've got Loki, and Loki was one, again, up for debate between Duelist and Strategist. Now, I think his kit is well designed, to be honest with you, so I'm going to leave him in the Strategist category for now. And in terms of Duelist, I don't really know how they would have made him work, realistically, because I don't really know much about what kind of powers he can actually output damage with, so I think they placed him well. I think they designed him well, they just nerfed the crap out of him far too much, which is just a complete other issue. Then we've got Penny Parker, and again, Penny Parker having the robot suit, all that kind of stuff, being a bunker kind of style tank. The design of the hero is fine. Next up, we've got another hero that I've got a slight issue with their placement, and that is the Phoenix. Now, Phoenix is able to revive herself and also heal as well with all of her powers. I mean, she's got way more powers than any of the heroes maybe on the list already, to be honest with you. But one thing I do want to mention is that she could pretty much do anything, and then also she could read minds as well, which would have been a good test to see what we could get with maybe heroes like Professor X. And that would have been really nice to play off of that part of her kit instead of just making her a Human Torch Hela hybrid, which is basically what she is at the moment. And I don't think they really designed her kit very, very well with the kind of stacking of the damage and things like that. That could have been easily given to another hero, and I could even give you an example of another hero in just a moment. But when it comes to Phoenix, I think she should have been a strategist and designed a lot better actually than what she is right now. Next up, we've got Psylocke, and again, Psylocke being the kind of assassin style hero she is, absolutely she should have been a duelist. Then we've got Rocket, and again, Rocket's a very utility based kind of hero or character, even in the comic books, even in the movies. He's very kind of smart, intelligent, he can do a lot of different things. So again, placing him in the strategist category made perfect sense, giving damage boosts and all that kind of stuff. Then we've got Scarlet Witch, and Scarlet Witch, in my opinion, could have went duelist or strategist once again, being a very, very strong hero in the Marvel comics. I mean, she could do a lot again in terms of her kit, but I think she should have been a strategist once more, especially with a lock-on attack, similar to kind of Cloak and Dagger, which we'll get on into later on. But having that lock-on attack, maybe she could do a little bit less of that damage and maybe more healing output in other ways, or maybe granting damage boosts or something like that. I feel like that would have been her kit almost down to a T, damage boosting teammates. Next up, we've got Spider-Man, and I think Spider-Man is perfectly placed inside the duelist. There's not really too much to say here. He's a dive duelist once again, but there's not really too much else to his kit besides dealing damage, so that makes perfect sense. Then we have Squirrel Girl, and again is another hero which I didn't know too much about until I've played this game. And again, I think she's perfectly placed at that AoE splash damage acorn kind of hero that can take out a lot of the utility in the game. So the design of her kit is okay, I guess. So I think she's placed well within this game. Then we have Star-Lord, and once again, I think Star-Lord is perfectly placed as a duelist hero. He's got dual wielding guns. He's quite mobile compared to one of the other heroes, which we'll get on into in just a moment. So overall, I think he's placed well in this game. It's super close range, kind of dive style. Next up, we've got a hero that I believe needs almost a complete rework and a complete replacement into a different category, and that is Storm. Now, Storm right now doesn't feel like a great flying hero. She doesn't feel like a great beacon for our team, which is the way they've designed the hero. And she doesn't really output nearly as much damage as a lot of the other heroes, even flying heroes like Iron Man and Torch. And I think she should have been placed in the Vanguard category. Now, there's been some debates on placing her in Strategist, but I actually think Vanguard's a slightly better option, and I have a better idea for her kit. Now, first of all, she should have the damage boost. That should not be taken away, and maybe boosting the damage a little bit more would be a better idea. I know they buffed it in the recent update. They should also give her extra HP, just maybe like 200 more HP, to be honest, and not change her movement, right? Just make her a slow flying Vanguard tank, right? That would be great. Keep her hitbox relatively small. I don't think it should be massive because Angelus is not that big either anyway, plus she's got a shield, so it doesn't really matter. Plus we'll now have 2 flying Vanguards in the game, which kind of diversifies the meta a little bit. But then take away her movement boost ability and swap that for a CC, anti-CC ability, right? So essentially what that would do is anyone inside the ring below you would not be able to be CC'd at all, and that also includes Storm herself. And I think for the abilities that we're now going to get in the game, for like Daredevil's grapple, Winter Soldier's grapple, Wolverine, all these kind of things. Having that ability to switch to anti-CC would be really cool for all the other heroes in this game, and I think that would make this game so much more dynamic in terms of playstyle, and then Storm will get picked a lot so that you don't get displaced out of your team. So I think that's how they should balance Storm. I think it's such a cool idea. So she can damage boost, but then she can also anti-CC, and then she needs to choose which one would be the best option at that moment in time when playing the game. Then we have Punisher, and again, Punisher's perfectly placed, man. DPS hero through and through. There's no issues with the way Punisher's playing right now. I think he's actually a really fun hero to play as well. Then we have the Thing, and again, the Thing is perfectly placed. Once again, big beefy character, should be placed in the Vanguard category. No problems with that whatsoever. Then we have Ultron, and I feel like Ultron's healing output is just nowhere near as good as what it should be. If we've got heroes like Gambit who are coming in new, and he's like a dive style of hero, and he can heal up way more than Ultron, who's meant to be like that beacon healer, which is meant to be similar to that Storm playstyle that we mentioned, but instead he's a strategist, and that is his playstyle actually. I just don't think he's nearly as good, right? I think he was meant to be a duelist hero, but they didn't want to add in another flying duelist, and plus Ultron's a bad guy anyway. Who is he healing? No one, right? So first of all, Ultron should have been in the duelist category, and just maybe change his kit to make him deal more damage, especially with his ultimate being what it is. I feel like that should have been a damage based ultimate as well. So overall, Ultron, in my opinion, should have been a duelist through and through. Then we have Venom, and being the opposite to what Spider-Man is, his kit is designed extremely well, and he should have been a Vanguard. Again, that is where he should be placed, which makes perfect sense, of course. Then we have Wolverine. Now, like I said, with the Blade lifesteal ability, Wolverine should have had this, right? So Blade should have just had extra HP. Wolverine should have had the lifesteal ability. As he builds up his rage, he steals the life from the enemy player, and that means he's actually got the healing factor that he deserves to have in this game. And Blade's got it, and he deals loads of damage, and he's a brawling style of hero. So then why can't Wolverine have it? And that's my personal opinion on this one. Plus Wolverine, in my opinion, is maybe slightly more popular than Blade. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I think anyway. I prefer Wolverine over Blade because I just think he's cool, but that is just me personally. Then we have Thor, and again, Thor perfectly placed in the Vanguard category. I don't think he's like the best perfect designed character, but I think Thor makes sense to be in the Vanguards because he is pretty OP in the comic books and in the movies. So obviously having that extra HP and having the Awakening Rune to keep him alive a little bit longer makes sense. And then lastly, we've got Winter Soldier, who again is perfectly placed in the DPS or the Duelist category to just deal output damage. I mean, his kit is pretty strong, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I think he's well designed. His ultimate's pretty cool as well. Rounding off this video, if you look at each one of these categories now, it's all kind of more balanced in my opinion, especially with what each of the categories has in them. So for example, each of the categories has a flying style of hero. So Phoenix and Scarlet Witch could have been the flyers inside the Strategist category, even to some extent to hover around or something like that. Then we've got the flyers in the Vanguard category. Of course, that would have been Storm and Angela, and then we've obviously got the ones in the Duelist category as we're aware of. Then we've got the dive heroes, so we've got Iron Fist and Gambit inside the Strategist category as the dive strategists. We've also got the dive Vanguards, Venom, you've obviously got Hulk there as well. And then when it comes to Duelists, you've got Daredevil, Black Panther. But let me know what you think about the placement of all these heroes, if you would change anything from my list right here, and if you have any other thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.